Hi, this is Jamie Curtis with Grinkmeyer Leonard Financial, and today I wanted to discuss with you the most recent Department of Labor ruling surrounding ESG funds and how the final ruling has implications not only for the appropriateness of those funds within a 401k plan, but also on the way that investment committees make decisions regarding all investments within your 401k plan. So with that, let me go ahead and get started. I think the best place to start is always kind of with a background on the ruling and how we kind of got to where we are today. So in June of 2020, the Department of Labor issued some proposed rulings around ESG funds. And an ESG mutual fund is a mutual fund that selects their underlying investments or the companies that they're going to choose to invest in based on factors that include environmental impact, social implications, and corporate governance. So just for an example, rather than just looking at how a certain company is performing or their fundamentals, this manager may consider, well, what's the environmental impact? Are they a big polluter? Are they investing in green technology? From a social aspect, are they creating or contributing to social factors that have fallen out of favor or are no longer kind of deemed to be appropriate? And then from a corporate governance, these fund managers look at how are board members selected, how are company policies formed that impact employees. So all of these, an ESG mutual fund can consider one or all of these factors when selecting their underlying investments. And so the Department of Labor stepped in and said, hey, we have some maybe concerns that non-financial factors are being given too high of a priority when these mutual funds are selecting their investments. And they specifically went so far as to say that ESG funds could not be used as a qualified investment for anybody who's defaulted. So a QDIA. So 401k plans couldn't automatically default participants who had not made it their own proactive investment election into one of these QDIA funds. So the Department of Labor received over 8,700 comments about their proposal, which is pretty many for a Department of Labor proposed rule. And in October of 2020, they came out with what was apparently going to be a less restrictive final rule because the final ruling took out specific mention of ESG funds. So they said, hey, we heard you loud and clear, you want to be able to consider these for your qualified plans. But now we're not going to specifically reference them, but we're going to say that the use of pecuniary factors can be the only factors used to make investment-related decisions. So the potential unintended consequence here is that now all fiduciaries, so again, they took out mention of specifically 401k plans, but any investment professional or a party who has a fiduciary interest in money management now must consider only pecuniary factors in all investment related decisions. And so what does that kind of mean? Well, a pecuniary factor is any factor that has a financial impact. So this can be time horizon of the underlying investments. Is it short? Is it long? How the investment is diversified? What is the risk considerations for the underlying companies and the way that the mutual fund manages risk. And then finally, what is the return? When you combine all these other factors, what is the ultimate performance number and how is that, impacted with these factors going forward? And so intuitively, you kind of say, well, yeah, we want our investments to perform well and have good risk management. And we're considering these things already, but this new ruling was very clear that these are the only factors you can consider. So I think as a committee member or as somebody who has a hand in the 401k investments that are offered, you really have to analyze, well, can we confidently say that these factors were the only considerations made when we selected our plan's investments? And so what do you do about this? What best practices can you put into place to ensure that, yes, you are following the Department of Labor guidelines? And our first step and our first tip is kind of always the same. Make sure that you have a well-documented approach to selecting investments. So whether it's just you as an owner or if you sit on a committee, we really encourage you to be able to point back to a documented process that states these factors were used. Here was the ultimate, implication and implementation for these investment changes. And, here was how the committee voted and make sure that you can really point back to that process and that documentation. And then you do want to make sure that you're following that prudent man rule and that your participants are always top of mind when any investment changes are made or any investments are put into your plan. And so that really is the baseline fiduciary requirement for any decisions made in a 401k plan is how is this going to impact the participants that we're serving? And this is no different. So you want to make sure that the investments that are put in place are for the best interest of your plan participants. And then you may also want to evaluate the partners that you have from an investment advisor, financial advisor type role, and make sure that that individual is serving in a fiduciary capacity. And there are two main types of fiduciaries, either 321 or 338. And what you need to know here is that a 338 fiduciary advisor has discretion. And that means that that individual can make plan investment changes without the approval of the plan committee. So they should definitely inform. You still have to notify your participants, but the committee or the individual decision maker doesn't have to sign off on a 338's investment decision recommendations. 321, on the other hand, still should provide a high level of support, should still provide all of the underlying methodology behind why an investment recommendation is being made, but ultimately still must rely on the investment committee or ultimate decision maker to approve those recommendations. So, one's not necessarily better than the other. You just know the difference, like I said, between 321 and 338 is that level of discretion. So Valerie and I, we'd love to talk to you more about this, answer any questions that you may have about how your own plan investments have been selected, and really make sure that you and your investment committee are comfortable that only pecuniary factors have been used and will be used in the future for making those decisions. We also are happy to hear from you about any other questions you may have regarding your 401k plan and how we could better serve you, and our contact information can be found here. And I thank you again for spending a few minutes with me today. I hope you found this information useful, and I look forward to speaking with you soon. Thanks.